Hello, I'm Malcolm Haslett. Adelaide has a plethora of entertainment festivals throughout the year, and we're talking about the rebooted Adelaide Cabaret Festival next on OurTime. And welcome to OurTime. Lauren Thiel is a chartered accountant and registered tax agent with a passion for the arts and business. A performer since before she could walk, Lauren contributes to the industry both on and off the stage. In 2019, Lauren joined the Cabaret Fringe Festival as an inaugural board member and as producer of the festival. She worked alongside all of the venues, artists, and with the publicity team to create a very successful festival. And she's here! Lauren.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. It's a big wrap up though.
Yeah.
Because truth is, I have to come clean. I've known you since you were just a little girl.
Yes, I think
with
age
a very
3.
big tall sister. And I know you've learned to dance, you've learned to sing, you've learned to act, and then you learned to be an accountant. Why?
Yeah, that's a fair question.
Look at his face. Why?
I know. Never ever would I have thought I would become an accountant. That was not on the cards. But it was actually through working as a dancer and helping Adelaide Comedy at the Rhino Room while I was studying that I discovered, funnily enough, a lot of my friends and colleagues in the arts were running really great businesses and producing beautiful works, but maybe needed some extra help on the business admin as I saw it.
That's always the problem, isn't it? Because you work so hard to get your show together and you forget, we've got to sell the tickets and we've got to do the tax afterwards, we've got to pay the GST, and where does that money go? And yes, all of that.
Exactly. And I think artists are actually sometimes not given as much credit as they are due, and they're very intelligent people. It's just you don't sign up for an ABN and then magically become great at accounting. So you might need a bit of help, which is fine.
Sympathetic person to say, this is how it works, try this.
Yeah, I mean, I have a go at doing anything in Photoshop and it's a nightmare. So we all got to help each other with our strengths.
But that's very true, actually. You've made a very valid point, probably that you've never thought about, that when you see somebody performing, obviously it's their wage that they're going to get at the end of it, which is why they're doing it. I mean, we all love performing, but at the end of the day, we have to earn some money out of it. And then you've spent so much of your time trying to put all of that together, both the show and whether it's costumes or scenery or music or whatever it is you do. And then you think, is anyone coming to buy a ticket? How do I make that happen? What do I do about tax? What are the deductions I can put away? So, yeah, how wise to know all of that stuff.
I really just want people to be able to know that a career in the arts can be sustainable and a viable, career choice.
Well, it really can be. And I think it's, when you're a child learning to do all of those things, I mean, your children just have fun going along with what they're doing and looking forward to the next performance or the next competition or whatever it is they're involved with. But then you get to a point when you realise, hey, I actually like doing this. This is what I really like. Do you know, we had, a few weeks ago, we had a palm reader on the show.
Yeah.
And it was really interesting because he made the point that in vitro, the nerves in our hands, along with the nerves in the rest of our body, obviously, are growing. Our brain is growing, but one of the first things that nerves connect with are the palms of your hands.
How interesting.
And as you go through life, your palm reflects, are you doing what you're happy doing?
Ooh.
And not everybody gets it. It's not about reading the future. Yeah. It's about actually understanding where you are right now. And I found that a really interesting concept because he looked at me and he basically said, well, you're doing exactly what you want to do in life, which is absolutely the truth. I have, and I've been really lucky. But it's been a life career, And I say to so many people, this is actually something that you can do. Get as good at it as you can. Yeah. Don't sort of just think because I want to do it, it's going to happen.
No, you have to work extra hard.
Well, you've had to do it twice.
Yeah, exactly.
As a performer and as an accountant.
Yeah, and I think it's about surrounding yourself with the right people.
Absolutely.
Like having mentors. Like I'm sure there are hundreds of people who would call you a mentor, and then there are, others that might be in an artist community from, solid venues that they've got relationships with to their accountants, and I think that's how you create your ecosystem and then you have success.
That's true. Create your ecosystem. What a good way of putting that together. Because that's true. That's what it actually is. Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about the Cabaret Fringe.
Yes,
First of all, let's talk about why there's a Cabaret Fringe.
Oh,
so the Cabaret Festival is a festival here in South Australia at the Festival Centre.
Yes.
And was originally conceived so that the Festival Centre could work during the winter time, is the simplest way to explain it.
Yep.
Because they've got lots of venues and spaces that a lot of cabaret artists could come together. And then I guess like the Adelaide Festival of Arts, local people weren't necessarily included in that festival. So is that what this is all about?
Yes, essentially, you've hit the nail on the head. We've actually been doing some deep diving into the history of the Cabaret Fringe Festival, and as it turns out, I suppose you could say our origin was in 2001 when Frank Ford, who was the father of many things Fringe, created the very first iteration of what we know now as the Cabaret Fringe Festival. And it was exactly as you said, it was to give an opportunity to local artists through an open access, non-curated festival, still within that cabaret space, but to encourage them to bring new art to new and courageous audiences in their own way.
And it's also connecting local performers with local audiences.
Yes, and local venue, like bring them here and let them have that opportunity and, you know, an income generation opportunity through winter as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Because winter time often is a tough time for performers because you want to stay home in front of the fire and watch the TV probably and download yet another film. But seeing people live is a completely different experience. And the origin of cabaret is interpreted as a show, a performance of some kind, which is incorporated with food and drink.
Yes.
Believe it or not, is the French version of it. And often it had something to do with politics. So are we going to see a lot of political shows with food? And don't throw it, please.
We've definitely got a couple of shows that you can buy, either just the show or you can have dinner and a show.
Right.
Some will be theatre seating, some will be in a traditional cabaret seating arrangement.
Table.
Exactly. We've also got, I don't know whether I can say they're political, but I think there's definitely story, there's intimacy, and there's a challenge. I like to think that the acts that we are welcoming in our open access festival are daring. They're trying something new and they're leaving you with something that challenges you.
Yes. Which can just make you happy, or
it should still be
Yeah.
entertaining, of
Yes,
course,
of course,
but leave you with something, I think.
Yeah, and that's the one thing performers have got the ability to do is to challenge your thoughts and to maybe take you down a different path, whether it's about politics or whether it's maybe about religion even or sexuality or anything.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the history of the festival, though, is that it started small at a small venue. I think I'm right.
Yes.
At a small venue. Tell us that story.
Sure. So from the early 2000s start, I think we got our real Cabaret Fringe Festival created in around 2008 with Adam Boylan and Paul Boylan, and their mate Jay Robinson as well was involved at La Boheme. So one of Adelaide's most famous cabaret bars, which unfortunately has now closed its doors, but they were the home and the hub of this festival for years.
Great shame, actually, that happened, but unfortunately this is what happens in the entertainment industry. People don't realise how much it costs to keep a venue open.
Oh, yeah.
Apart from all the other stuff. You know, think, I'm paying $30 for a ticket. What, $30 for a ticket? Well, yes, you might be, but the venue's going to get some of that. And, you know, if you're not playing to full houses or you haven't got a big enough venue to cover it, they just can't survive.
Well, shows cost a lot to run.
To mount as well,
and
yes.
often the artist doesn't actually factor in their own time and energy,
Correct. Yep.
which we're trying to encourage them to do. But then the venue
GST.
also has costs. Oh,
Yes.
GST, don't get me started. But The venue itself obviously has got, maybe its lease or its loan repayments, its staff are really expensive.
It's license to sell
exactly.
alcohol. All
and
of
the alcohol itself.
And the cleaning after the event and the washing up of the glasses.
Exactly.
I know it only too well. But Lauren,
yes.
So the festival sort of grew and then it sort of closed down a bit. Last year it didn't happen at all because of COVID, obviously.
Yes.
So this is a year to reboot.
100%.
And this year, who are the people on the board? Because it's got a board, it's got promotions people, it's quite involved this year.
Yes, we're super pleased to still have the original people behind it. So we've still got Adam and Paul Boylan. We've also got myself as the treasurer and the producer this year. Our chairman is Greg Mackey, and we've also got Alison KImber.
Greg was on the show a couple of weeks ago, so we mentioned it then. Yeah.
He wears many hats, that man.
Does. He certainly does.
He
Very
could probably
well connected.
have 10 episodes with you with all of the different things he does.
I know, and his background is amazing.
Exactly. Also with Alex Reid and with Mark Durrard as well. So that's our lovely board who bring so many different skills and networks to that table.
Absolutely do. And then the shows. And we're going to be back in a tick with Alison, who is doing a show called 60, Sassy and Celebrating. We'll see you in a tick. This episode, we're talking to Lauren Thiel about the upcoming Cabaret Fringe Festival, and now a performer who's in the festival, Alison KImber, joins us. Your show, Alison, is called 60, Sassy and Celebrating.
That's right, Malcolm.
What are you celebrating? Sassy?
Well, celebrating being 60 and sassy, and that life is actually pretty damn good at this age. I think when I was little, well, for a start, when I was little, I thought 20 was really old and couldn't imagine that I'd ever be, a number with a 6 in front of it. But, well, I don't think we're as old as our grandparents were, are we? And
yes.
I actually think that life
we don't necessarily look as old as our grandparents.
But we're not as old in our bodies. We've had better healthcare, better food,
we have.
More exercise.
Better food, better understanding of how to look after ourselves.
Yes, that's right.
And better haircuts.
Yes, and hopefully better clothes, although you always look back and think that, what the hell was I thinking?
Oh, well, that's fashion, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's very true. So what brings you to doing or presenting a Cabaret Fringe show?
Well, I love cabaret. I really love the format because it's very intimate with the audience, and I really love connecting with an audience, telling a story and singing songs that I love, that the audience knows and loves as well.
Well, that's part of it because it's a show with song.
That's right.
And a very well-known pianist here in South Australia.
Yes, Emma Knights. I've been fortunate enough to engage her, and also going to have a much younger drummer who's certainly not 60.
Is the drummer
I don't
sassy,
know that he's
though?
even 20. He's damn good. He's damn good. I don't know.
So the last time I saw you in the show, you were slightly inebriated, I seem to recall.
That's just my excellent acting skills, Malcolm.
Very convincing it was. I'm sure it wasn't really white wine in the glass. No, but it carried through the story really well. And the way that you presented it and the way that you carried through the I'm getting a little tiddlier here was really so engaging. I found that really terrific.
Well, thank you for that.
And I'm pleased that you're doing another show, because how often do you perform?
Not often. It's not my day job. I know you were talking earlier about how you can make a career out of performing, but I've made my career much more sedate ways, like the public service, and I'm a qualified actuary. We've got an actuary and accountant here, which is not what you typically think of in cabaret or performing, is it?
I know what an actuary does. That's such a responsible job.
You sound very surprised.
No. Oh, no. What, with you? No, not at all. Not at all. But, when people talk about, what's an actuary? Is that an actor? Is that what's an actuary? I know what an actuary is.
Well, it's a financial mathematician,
Yes.
really, which sounds really hideous. But other people have described it as a cross between a bookmaker and an undertaker. They work out
Got to know what's going to live and die, really, don't you?
But I guess I haven't really worked directly in that for a long time. I'm now partly retired, and I'm on several boards, including the Cabaret Fringe board, which is. But I was part of the Cabaret Fringe before I joined the board.
Yes, but you've been performing for quite some time. Now, okay, so you're sitting there at home thinking, what am I going to do for a show? I want to do a show. What am I going to do? So what were your steps? How did you conceive this show?
I guess I like to think about what I want to say to an audience and how I want the audience to feel at the end of the show. I think about how I can connect stories with song. I usually work out what I want to say and then fit the songs to that story.
Find the songs to fit.
Yeah, because there's so much material to draw on. I feel you can.
Lauren, with the people that are being part of this festival, clearly everyone's got different ways of putting a show together. Some will call in a director, some might call in a writer or a musician to help, or an arranger to work it all out. Is there a rule of thumb in your opinion as to what a cabaret show should be?
Ooh, I wouldn't say that there are any rules. I think that's kind of maybe rule one is no rules.
No rules. Right.
I think when...
I'm glad you said that, because really that's true. But I think there's a rule, and the rule is exactly what you just said, Alison. You've got to think of how you're going to connect whatever your story is. I think that's rule number one.
Yeah.
And then throw all the other rules out the door.
For sure. We like there to be, I suppose it's more what we would like to see, rather than we're not going to kick anybody out because they didn't, fit particular criteria. But I think some level of a storyline or a message, I think having COVID-safe audience, interaction, a feeling of intimacy and connection. Different kinds of connection, I think, can be achieved this year. Maybe in the past, I know there's definitely been some shows where there's been maybe too much connection with the audience members.
I've been in an audience when that's happened, yes. I think that relationship that gets built, though, between the artist or all of the artists on stage and the audience is probably the most important. And then that involvement of theatre and music combination, and sometimes also with dance. I think that's really where cabaret falls.
Yeah, and there are a lot of different shows this year. Actually, Lauren was telling me before we came on that there's a huge variety.
Well, that's what it should be, and that's wonderful that it is.
Cabaret is so many things.
Yeah, because it is so many things, and this is a perfect opportunity to be seen, to try some work out that you may want to go further with, because of course South Australia and Adelaide is not the only state that has a festival, and festivals really are 52 weeks a year if you can find the audience. So let's talk about that for a minute. So as we were talking about before, you've got your show together, and then you think, right, I've got to sell tickets for this. How do you find your audience? Both of you, how do you find your audience?
I guess I've used a mixture of old-fashioned things like posters and flyers, but social media, I have direct email, I guess, and the Cabaret Fringe itself will do some publicity.
The structure of what's there. So there's the good thing is there's a website, this website, to go to see who's on and where they're on and what the costs are and so on.
That's right.
Laura, do you feel the same? Do you feel what we just said about putting the show together, finding your audience? How is the festival itself finding the audience?
Absolutely. So this festival, I think, has, it's got quite a long history, so it has quite a following, and that is something, despite our size, we're a smaller festival, I think we actually have quite a large following who are very loyal and very interested. So it's making sure that they're nurtured and that we are directly connecting with them. So we have a team this year at Rebel Yell who are helping us with the marketing and with the media management. And we've got a whole mixture similar to what you've just said, Alison, but for like an umbrella. So we market the festival as a whole, and then as much as we can, we will highlight when there are, there's a newsworthy story over here about this act, and we're promoting everybody as one festival, and then directing everybody to hopefully buy tickets to what they want to see.
Yeah, and by doing that, everybody that goes to book a ticket can then see, oh, that's something I'd like to see too. Oh, maybe, I didn't know they were. Oh, yeah,
Exactly.
I'll see that. That sounds good.
I like to encourage people personally when I'm talking to them to absolutely book the show that you know and love, or the person who you know and love, because often in Adelaide we know who we're going to see. And then at the same time, try something really different.
Yeah.
Go to a show that sounds super interesting or weird, or is a ticket price that maybe, is more accessible. Let's give everybody a go, and I think as part of that you're going to really enjoy it.
And also see the other venues that are around town that may have something on in the future you want to see. So it's really a bit of a taste test as well.
100%, 100%. And with the venues, I think that's a really good point, because we have people can register their shows wherever they like. So we've got activation of so many different clubs and bars and theatre spaces around Adelaide, and then the suburban areas nearby too.
So the point is, you don't have to have a real theatre environment. You can do a show almost anywhere, as long as you've got something that's interesting. Your show is in a theatre environment, so it can be lit properly and
good
audio
like
and stuff. But sometimes, something can really catch your eye and really find, as we said before, challenge you. That could be on the back of an old truck.
100%.
Or perhaps in the catacombs of Adelaide, or a jail cell, or wherever. And that is a good thing about things happening locally in this town. So Alison, we haven't actually talked what your show is about. It's about you, I gather, because you're the sassy...
it's about celebrating being older, and a bit as I described, of realising that actually getting to this age is not so bad.
As long as the legs keep working.
Yes. There are certain things that are good about it, and not just the senior discounts. But there are other things that are a bit tougher, like, bending over and picking up pieces of paper off the floor. Sometimes you drop something and think, oh, do I really want to bother to pick that up now? It can stay there.
Wait for the cleaners to come.
More visits to the physio, that sort of thing. But... I think there is a certain wisdom that comes with being older.
It is, but to connect to people and with people that are your same age, say, oh yeah, I feel like that, when you hear the things talked about. For people that are younger, oh, is that what I'm heading into? Can always be a cool way to look at it.
Yeah.
We'll be back in a moment with these two lovely ladies and a little bit more news, and talk about the Cabaret Fringe Festival. We're still talking with Lauren and Alison about Adelaide's new improved, rebooted Adelaide Cabaret Fringe Festival. And we're talking about the Fringe Festival because the Adelaide Cabaret Festival is essentially an Adelaide Festival Centre enterprise that's curated and bringing in performers from all over the place, many from Australia this time. But the Fringe Festival is really about connecting local performers like you with the local audiences. How important do you think that is?
Oh, I think it's tremendously important. It certainly helps to give performers, either younger or older, who are just starting out, the chance to connect to an audience.
So to speak.
Exactly. And people that are learning their craft, I think it's incredibly important. But also for more experienced cabaret performers. I think there's quite a number on the performing lineup this year.
It's one of those
that have
things.
Been around for a while.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Once you've done one of these, this is a great thing to have in your resume, to know that you were part of a festival. And we do have a lot of festivals in Adelaide. For you people in Victoria, we've sort of become the festival state, because there's really one festival basically every 2 months here now, which is great, because even the cheese festival, because it's just a constant flow of entertainment going through the year. But because these days shows like yours probably wouldn't tour, it's really the one chance people have got to come and see.
Definitely. And I think, as I was saying, with more experienced performers that are based in Adelaide, a lot more of those will be performing at
And
these
this
sorts
is
of
when
things
it's on.
this year.
This is not just your show, but all the other Fringe Festival shows are right here. So, as Molly Meldrum would have said if he was here tonight, he would have said, or today, do yourself a favour and go to the Adelaide Cabaret Fringe Festival. And with that, thank you so much, Alison.
Thanks.
Thank you very much, Lauren, for joining us. It's great to talk to two lovely South Australians who are doing their best to keep entertainment alive, as hopefully we've been able to do this time on Our Time. Till next time, keep yourself nice till then. Bye.